The storm is now racing toward the Carolinas, where it is threatening to unleash even more destructive winds and rain. At least 2 people are already announced dead, 1 man in Greensboro, Florida, and an 11-year-old in Lake Seminole, Georgia. And more than 850,000 people are without power across Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas. And we've got an incredible team of reporters since yesterday across the region in the hardest hit areas. And I want to go first to NBC's Kerry Sanders live in Panama City Beach, which is 20 miles from where the storm made landfall. Kerry, walk us through the last 24 hours. When you and I spoke yesterday afternoon at 1 p.m., you were standing on the patio of your hotel. Your baseball helmet flew off your head. You couldn't even make it inside without the assistance from another guy. It was extraordinary. You have covered countless storms in your career. Draw some comparisons for us.
Well, 150 plus mile an hour winds are nothing to be toyed with. So you saw what happened to me there, the helmet going airborne. Jim Cantore from the Weather Channel, thankfully nearby. He and I have covered storms side by side for many, many years. I'm very thankful that he was there to get me from tumbling down and then possibly going into a swimming pool. So I'm okay. I'm not sure I'd stand out there again like that, but let's talk about the real power of the hurricane that I think is perhaps visible right here. In fact, let me go to a wide picture first of all here. And if you look at this wide picture of the marina here, this is called the legendary marina. You can see the damage that happened. It's possible that there was a tornado. You do know that tornadoes spin out of the hurricanes. As we come back to this camera, just take a look here. We're talking about just millions of dollars in damage to the boats here. This is all the twisted, mangled wreckage of what happened when Michael made his way into this area. And it just goes on and on and on. What you can't tell on TV is the stench out here of the fuel, the gasoline and the diesel and the oils that have spilled here. It's going to take some time to clean this up. But the real concern, of course, are people's homes. And not too far away, we spoke to a resident who went through this hurricane, and a 70-year-old who told me an amazing story of her being alone in the house with her 2 dogs, and as the storm came ashore, tornadoes were coming down around her house. She was holding on to the French doors with both hands. They were rattling as her roof was peeling back. She survived, but not without trees coming down, power poles coming down, and eventually, when those doors that she could no longer hold, she made her way into a hallway and sat on a chair with her 2 dogs and survived. But what she went through is a real explanation of why, when the authorities say evacuate, please evacuate. It's remarkable that she survived, and those stories will be repeated over and over and over again. Stephanie?
My goodness, Kerry, I am so glad you're safe. And thank you again for your extraordinary reporting. Let's take you live now to NBC's Gabe Gutierrez, who is in Apalachicola, Florida, where the director of the National Hurricane Center says floodwaters were well above 7.5 feet deep just hours after the storm hit. Gabe, how are things looking now?
Hi there, Stephanie. Good morning. Yeah, we saw some of that storm surge. It flooded part of the historic downtown. And right behind me, you can see what we're really starting to see for quite a bit overnight and into this morning. All these toppled trees and power lines is making it really difficult to get around. The main road in and out of Apalachicola, Florida, US 98, that's blocked by all this debris. You can see the sheer power of this storm. Look, just uprooted this major tree, and this tree actually, has this concrete ring around it, so it was even harder for it to for it to be uprooted. So this is something that we've been seeing over and over again over the last couple of hours as we've been driving around. All this debris pretty much all over the road. Hundreds of thousands of people are without power in Florida, and it could be days, and in some cases even weeks, before it's fully restored. Of course, the eye of the storm hit to our west in Mexico Beach. That was where we're seeing images of some of the worst devastation. Here in Apalachicola, what we're mostly seeing is a lot of this, and first responders are going to different areas right now to assess the damage this morning. They're checking on some of the furthest far-flung areas to see if everybody made it out okay. We haven't heard of any injuries here, thankfully, but again, this is part of the Panhandle, which really had never seen something like this, something so powerful that for some people hit them unexpectedly, as we've been talking with people throughout the evening and into this morning. Stephanie?
This thing came hard and fast. Gabe, thank you. Now let's head to Georgia, where NBC's Tammy Leitner is standing by. Tammy, an 11-year-old passed away nearby where you are in Georgia. What can you tell us about that? And what is the scene like as this tropical storm is moving out?
That's right, Steph. So sad. It happened about an hour away from where we are. The winds were so strong it actually picked up a carport and threw it into the house where that 11-year-old was. We're in downtown Albany right now, where a massive amount of businesses were destroyed, windows blown out, roofs ripped off of the businesses. First responders have been going out all night since about 10:30 last night, responding to calls. We've been in constant communication with county officials. They said they have just been inundated with calls. They've actually had a very hard time getting out, responding to a lot of those calls because the roads are blocked, power lines down, trees down. They've got about 275,000 people, houses across the state of Georgia without power. President Trump has declared a state of emergency here in Georgia. If you take a look behind me, this just gives you a really good idea of the power of some of the winds here, Stephanie. This is from a roof that's not even on this block. It's somewhere else. And so that's just how powerful these winds were. And rescue crews are just now really starting to get out and assess the damage all the way across the state of Georgia.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.